This is it. It all comes down to this rock. The hours in the gym, the weeks away from my family. This is what I've been training for. And all those voices trying to tear me down, I'm here to silence them. We've given everything we have for a chance to get everything we want.
Previously on the Rod Pedersen Show.
The free agency's over. What are your thoughts right now as we sit here, mid-February?
You know, I was surprised a little bit that Winnipeg was able to get Schoen and Oliveira back both at 2:30. I mean, I think it was really important for them because so much of the conversation around the Bombers is they're getting older, same guys. So if you're having the conversation around the Bombers of, you know, they're getting too old, they're getting older, how do you let two guys 26 and 27 go out the door? Guys that weren't even part of this dynasty when it began, if you call it that. Certainly getting into Grey Cups, it's a dynasty. I thought Ottawa did well, you know, adding sort of, they had four things on their list, you know, quarterback, big play receiver, offensive line, coverage linebacker, boom, 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 boom. They got four of those. You know, there was nothing, there was no sort of eyebrow raising. I would think most of the contracts this year in free agency came in under what we expect them, right? We've had the last few years where there was the Geno Lewis contract or the Kenny Lawler contract or, you know, a few others that have kind of like raised our eyebrows. This, I would say for the most part, most of the deals came in under what we would have expected, you know, including, you know, Tim White's deal that was, you know, kind of the last one to fall. And he comes in, you know, kind of in the 2 to 250 range, you know, with some incentives played in there. So, I mean, look, Toronto, you know, lost a ton of players. We knew they were going to do that. I think they're one of the most intriguing teams just because of how dominant they were last year and how much now their roster has been raked over, and they made some choices to keep guys. They made some choices to let guys walk. That's an intriguing one for me as well.
Get ready for the Rod Pedersen Show.
It's like Ravine, the famed illusionist. He would hypnotize the whole crowd. My dad always told this joke. He goes, oh, yeah, Ravine was performing at the Center of the Arts. He had the whole room hypnotized. And he said, the next thing I say, you will all do. And he got tripped up, tangled in his mic cord and tripped and went, crap. Took him 2 weeks to get the smell out.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
You like that one, did you, Jordan? Coming in hot. Coming in hot on a Thursday, I think. It's been a good day. Episode number 1186 of your favorite daytime sports talk show is at hand. I'm here in the beautiful South Florida studio where there isn't a breath of wind. Darren Moose DuPont is in the Toronto studio where there isn't a breath of wind. Hey, they're not blowing the leaves around, Moose. Hey, you got the Leafs gear out today. They must have won last night, did they?
Yeah, it was a good one. A late one last night. I'll be honest. I fell asleep with about 4.5 minutes left in the third period. That's the last thing I remember seeing before the eyelids shut. But, hey, you say no wind. It looks hot down there. Looks hot right now. I don't know why, but it looks like you got a hot one coming this afternoon.
It's definitely warming up, and we're very happy. It's a lovely day to be alive. And as a matter of fact, I will tell you that coming up on the program today, we're going to talk a little Blue Jays baseball with Mike Wilner, the longtime host of Jays Talk, and now from the Deep Left Field podcast. And Tyler Hall will join us from our friends at Telemiracle 48 coming your way this weekend. But I've had an awesome day. I told you it's a long day to get to wait till noon to get on the air. But Serene and I had a session with our coach this morning, and she put us into this meditation, and we did it different, and reminded, that was why I was late getting into my chair. I'm sure Clark and Jordan were a little panicked. Where's Rod? Where's Rod? And I was like doing this, and it reminded me of, and I was talking to a CFL coach this morning who said, hey, the Super Bowl looked amazing, and we talked about that, and I thought about the Sober Bowl, and with the meditation, I was, you know, at that sober party, the watch party that we threw. I don't know if you're a fan of The Voice. Does the singer Huntley, does that mean anything to you? And if I say Huntley, do you know who that guy is?
Yeah.
Okay, so he won The Voice. I'm not a music guy. So he's beside me getting ready to go perform at Sober Bowl. And I'm like, and by the way, he's a big SOB with long braided hair, which I never thought about at the time until today. I'm like, that's interesting. You don't see a lot of men with long braided hair, especially in muscle shirts and big muscles. And I'm like, hey, what's your set like? How many songs you doing? And he completely ignored me. So then I'm like, hey, how many songs you doing in your set? And he's like, what? That was me today. He was in the middle of a meditation before he went out on stage to perform at Sober Bowl at Super Bowl. And that's a little like me today. I came out of what? Oh, we got a show to do. Okay, let's do it. Can you hit the quick six show horn, please, Director Jordan? And away we go. Well, Moose has the shirt on. The big story in my world, and I think a lot of you people's too, is hockey. Toronto center Austin Matthews scored his 50th goal and 51st of the season as the Maple Leafs downed the hometown Arizona Coyotes 6-3 at Mullet Arena last night. Matthews has cracked the 50-goal mark in the regular season once before as a Leaf, as we all know. 2 seasons ago, when he had 60 goals to go along with 46 assists, it was the Coyotes' 11th straight loss. And who cares what I have to say, even though I'm the host? Darren's sitting there in Toronto. How many wins in a row? This is 6 in a row for the Leafs, right? Have they found their groove? Is it hammered down now till the playoffs for them, or what?
Well, you hope so. The one thing is, they've won every game with Morgan Riley suspended, and that's a positive that they rallied around Morgan Riley being out. But that's kind of always been what the Leafs have done. When they get a little bit, adverse, they lose some stars out of the lineup, everybody picks up their game and they play well. And then when the stars are all in the lineup, everybody thinks it's going to be easy and they can take their foot off the gas and they lose, right? So I hope that doesn't happen when Morgan Riley comes back. But it was cool. It was in Arizona. Austin Matthews' parents were there. He scored 50 and 51. So that's neat. And they're talking about now that he's on pace all of a sudden for 76 goals. When we said 70 and 71, we were like, hey, he hasn't even hit 50 yet. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. And now he's increased his scoring pace by being on a roll. It's kind of a fun story to watch.
I feel like it would be nice if you went in and spoke to the Maple Leafs about this, because I wonder if Sheldon Keefe has had that conversation. Hey, guys, you suck it up when we don't have a full deck, but you crap yourselves when we do. So can we it's like John Lynch, John Frenzy, the Hall of Fame Rough Riders broadcaster, wanted to go in and address the Riders before big games, and for whatever reason, the coaching staff of the Rough Riders wouldn't allow him to do that. But do you think they see this, Darren? Because the way you point that out to me makes a lot of sense. I feel like you should address the team. What do you think?
Of course, I'm sure they see this. I'm sure they have the conversation. But it's just natural human behavior that when the reinforcement comes, it's going to make my job easier. It's going to make my life easier. When in reality, it shouldn't make your life any easier. You should still have to work just as hard, but it should make the whole team better. That's what good teams do. You get more, you get better. It's not that it's going to get easier for you. And that's a mental thing the players have to turn on or off.
Well, I want to make this very clear. I hope the Leafs are learning their lessons, and if they win the Stanley Cup this year, I'll be as happy as any non-Leaf fan. I won't be as happy as you or Clark or any of the people that have been waiting their whole lives for this. But I'll be happy for them. But you've made a good point. The good teams don't worry about who's in or who's out. Florida Panthers, top team in the East. So I hope the Leafs are learning. And by the way, Mullet Arena was the place last night. I saw the highlights. I saw all the Leafs fans there. So I want to point something out to you. Later today, it'll be dropping on YouTube, our Cats and Bolts podcast. Jeff Chikrin was our guest, okay? The pride of Nepean, Ontario. His son, Jacob, plays for the Senators and spent 7 seasons with the Coyotes. So I'm just going to paraphrase and tell you, Darren, we got to the bottom of this Mullet Arena situation in the Coyotes because Chick, they love Phoenix. Anybody who's been there loves Phoenix. So just so you know, read my lips. Don't expect anything to change. I think the owner of that team's name is Alex Murillo. He's got more money than God, and something dawned on me. Just over since we've been talking yesterday on this show. He's the exact owner that every league wants. He's got more money than brains. He'll never go broke, and he doesn't care about winning. Who wouldn't want that? So if you sit here and wonder why things aren't changing in Arizona, here's why. The owner will never run out of money, and he doesn't care if they win and doesn't care if they have a new rink. If you were Gary Bettman, why would you fiddle with that? Why would you change?
I know. You don't have to worry about check bouncing. You don't have to worry about, anything. Or them, worse, coming and saying, hey, we need money. Give me some money, right? Obviously, you want to play in a nicer rink. You want it to be more of a destination. You'd like that market to be booming. But, yeah, if they haven't left the desert by now, there's no threat of them leaving anytime soon.
Yeah, well, probably not. And that's the thing. One thing, Chick, everybody, you got to go watch the Cats and Bolts podcast. We'll post it from our links where Jeff and I get into it. These are more my words than his. But as he was explaining all of this, I'm like, it's all lining up. Makes perfect sense. They don't need to win. They've lost 11 in a row, and he's outweighted everybody. Right? And the thing was, Jeff said, at some point the players are going to have to maybe file a grievance or something because it's not right that they're playing in a junior rink. Well, again, if I was Alex Murillo, the owner of the Coyotes, I would say, well, we tried. We tried really hard to ram this through city council. We even had a plebiscite with the citizens, and they voted it down. So we tried. That's probably good enough, I would think, for the National Hockey League and Gary Bettman. Now, some other things. Charlie McAvoy scored on a power play at 3:10 of overtime to lift Boston past Edmonton 6-5 after the Bruins blew a 3-goal lead on Wednesday night. Morgan Geekie, Brad Marchand, Trent Frederick, Jake DeBrusk, and David Pastrnak also scored for Boston. Warren Foegele scored twice, and Matthias Janmark, Corey Perry, and Zach Hyman added goals for the Oilers. Edmonton had won 8 in a row at home prior to that game. I had friends last night at the game, Bruins fans actually, that wrote on social media, no La Bamba tonight. I'm like, you better be careful talking like that. You're going to get your ass kicked. But Scott in Calgary wrote in and said that was a preview of the Stanley Cup final, Bruins at Oilers. And this is from a Flames fan. Well, I appreciate him chiming in on that, but who really knows? We don't know, but that's his take. Oilers, Bruins. And it happened in 88 and 90 as well. If that's the case, Oilers fans wouldn't like it. They lost in overtime at home to Boston last night. Meanwhile, the Montreal Canadiens top line did not have a good night against the Sabres. Nick Suzuki's 10-game point streak came to an end. Yuri Slafkovsky's run of 8 games point streak came to an end. Habs fell 3-2 to the Buffalo Sabres. You're welcome, Jenna in Southern California, who every time the Sabres win, writes us. And that's good. I'm glad that she's thinking about us in Southern California. That's a good thing. Moving on to point 2, it's our poll question today. Austin Matthews became the fastest U.S.-born player to reach 50 goals and helped the Toronto Maple Leafs beat the crumbling Arizona Coyotes last night. So with him catching fire, Austin Matthews, our poll question today for Key Auto Group. And by the way, at the Key Auto Group, you can buy with confidence knowing that they provide reports on all vehicles they sell. Get fully informed about your next vehicle by going to keyautogroup.ca. Poll question is, who is the MVP of the NHL this season? Is it Austin Matthews? Is it Connor McDavid of the Oilers? Is it Nathan MacKinnon of the Colorado Avalanche? Or is it Nikita Kucherov, the leading scorer of the National Hockey League from the Tampa Bay Lightning? Last I looked on Twitter, Austin Matthews was leading. I'd like to say that's a bit of a recency bias, but I don't know for sure just because of what he's been doing of late. On YouTube, Connor McDavid's leading, and I voted for Connor McDavid on both. Darren will probably vote for Austin Matthews because he's a Leafs fan, but I'll say this. The Leafs were, unless I missed something, largely winning even when Austin Matthews wasn't scoring earlier on in the year. Whereas the Oilers were not winning and do not win unless Connor McDavid's getting 6 assists a night. So to me, who's most valuable to his team? It's Connor McDavid for me. Have I convinced you?
Yeah, you make a great point, and you got me kind of, maybe I'm off the edge a little bit. My first thought wanted to say Nathan MacKinnon because, what he's doing in Colorado, just continuing. And hard to say. This is I can't believe I'm going to say this. Largely, it feels like under the radar for Nathan MacKinnon. I haven't heard a lot of Nathan MacKinnon talk throughout the year, even though he's having a great season. But I'll stay with Matthews because if I'm going to pay for something, if I'm going to find value, I'm going to pay for goals. I want to pay for goals. Goals are what go up on the scoreboard. I think they're so much more important. You don't have goals without assists. I get that. But I think what he's doing is so special. And the fact that if he gets to 70, because it hasn't happened in so long, I think that's so impressive that the heart will be right there for him. I don't know if it'll be a slam dunk, but if he doesn't get to 70, I think it's more wide open.
Well, they do have a trophy for that. The Maurice Richard Trophy, right, for the leading goal scorer. I'm just going through here. Somebody had a write-in ballot and said Connor Hellebuck as MVP, not any one of the four. And I'm racking my mind. Yeah, I thought this. I had it right. I'm not going to put you on the spot. Who's the last goalie to win MVP of the NHL? Forget about the Vezina for the top goalie. Who was named MVP of the league as goaltender? I'll tell you right now, it was Jose Theodore.
Oh, that long ago?
No, sorry, it was Carey Price in 2015. My bad. 2015, Carey Price. Before that, Jose Theodore. And then Dominic Hasek did it twice in 97 and 98. So it's not unheard of. But is Connor Hellebuck like single-handedly getting the Jets into the playoffs? Maybe he is. I don't know. I'm still on the McDavid train. I just feel like if he's not going, they're not winning. Whereas even the Jets have withstood or won with Laurent Brossoit in goal and not Connor Hellebuck. So it's a fun debate. It's a fun debate. And we'll see who wins this vote in 24 hours' time. Moving on. I want your take on this. Point 3, streaming service Netflix announced Wednesday that a new documentary about Major League Baseball's Montreal Expos and their departure from their Canadian home will be coming to the platform. The currently untitled documentary is set to explore the setbacks that led to the departure of Canada's first MLB team and how it continues to spark debate 20 years later, according to Netflix. The Expos arrived in Montreal for the 1969 season and played in the city until 2004 before moving to Washington and became the Nationals. The setback. Okay, number one, going back to 2004, 20 years ago, do you recall what those setbacks were that forced the Expos out of Montreal? How much were you? We've had this chat before. You were like 16 or whatever. Yeah, what do you remember? I remember the Olympic Stadium being empty. They largely weren't very good. That's enough criteria to move, right? I would think. Sell the team and move.
That's about all I remember.
What do you remember about? Yeah. Okay. Well, it says in the story here, the setbacks include conflicts between the city of Montreal and owner Jeffrey Loria over the construction of a new stadium, the firing of skipper Philippe Alou, and dwindling fan support. So fill in team name and city, and you have the story of every team that moves. Most recently, the Oakland A's, right, going to Las Vegas. But I want to ask our viewers this. This just popped into my mind. The name of the documentary doesn't have a name yet. Or at the very least, they haven't unveiled it. I got one in my mind, but what would be yours? The story of the Expos leaving Montreal. What would it be for you?
Ooh. Going, gone. How's that?
Not bad. That's not bad. There's no wrong answers to this. Mine would be au revoir. Au revoir.
Ah. You know what?
That's French for goodbye.
You got it. Yeah, that's good.
Au revoir. No, I don't mind going, gone either. And then maybe going, gone in French, en français.
Oh.
Do our Francais viewers want to chime in? For anybody who has a thought on what they should call this Expos documentary on Netflix, I'm sticking with au revoir. And Moose is saying going, gone. But we're open to suggestions. We're only 3 points into the Quick Six show topics. On the way today, Mike Wilner of the Deep Left Field podcast. He covers the Blue Jays, and Tyler Hall of Telemiracle 48. We'll be right back on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
This is it. It all comes down to this rock. The hours in the gym, the weeks away from my family. This is what I've been training for. And all those voices trying to tear me down, I'm here to silence them. We've given everything we have for a chance to get everything we want.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Everything I've worked for, everything I've sacrificed, has led to this. It's out of your hands now. All the gold medals in the world can't help you now. You could throw the perfect rock and still miss, but it just takes one. You leave it all out there on the ice to leave behind a legacy.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Hey, honey, can you get one of the kids to show me how this Twitter thing works? Honey, I need to get on Instagram. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
It is, and we're getting down to the nitty-grit now. Telemiracle 48 is this weekend. Tyler Hall will join us next hour from Saskatchewan's charity, but there's still time for you to get involved if you haven't yet. The Telemiracle 50/50 is live. Telemiracle5050.com is the way to get your tickets. Another way to support Telemiracle 48 and also have the chance to win half the jackpot. Win-win for Saskatchewan residents. Get your tickets now at Telemiracle5050.com. Let's bring the Mooth in. And we have some very wise and funny viewers, Moose. We're asking them, what name would you choose for this Expos documentary? They say it doesn't have a name yet. I feel like that's a lie. They just don't want to divulge it yet. You know, a lot of times they'll film movies and will not tell anybody what the name of the movie is, even though they have it, you know, until it's about to be released. Reg in Winnipeg says, the Big O Revoir. As in Olympic Stadium, the Big O Revoir. That's not bad. Ryan in Saratoga, New York says, ooh, the long au revoir, the decline of the Montreal Expos. John Ohm, and he's got a few comments here. He says, exposed. Exposed. I'm not sure that comes through in print, but I like the way that he thinks. From Devo. Devo writes in and says, I'd call it, who cares? Habs need to win another cup.
That's hot.
I don't think Netflix is going to go with that, but it's pretty good.
Yes, it's true that. And so John Ohm, who is like Google's, what should I say? He uses Google more than anybody else. He says, following a failed attempt to disband the Expos, Major League Baseball purchased the team prior to the 2002 season after the club failed to secure funding for a new ballpark. So, I mean, as time goes on, and that's one thing I've realized is people don't care. They don't care about your problems. You know, it's 20 years ago, for God's sakes. We don't really remember, and I do recall when the Nationals won the World Series, we were doing this show. I remember saying to you, I got a little choked up watching the Nationals celebrate on the field in their park because I was like, that's the Expos. That was the first team that I ever loved. But you were like, I didn't care. And most people didn't care. I thought there would be exposés across TSN and Sportsnet at the time. Nope. What have you done for me lately? So I think we'll all be watching it. And I now eagerly anticipating, Darren, the name of the show. Now, moving on to point 4, the quick 6 show topics. Here's one for you. Davis Schneider is getting his first taste of big league training camp, even though he's no longer a rookie. The Jays infielder had a memorable debut with Toronto last year. Remember that? Hitting a homer in his first at-bat after being called up from AAA Buffalo. Now the 25-year-old is fighting for a job at second base at the team's player development complex. Shortstop Bo Bichette and first baseman Vladdy Guerrero Jr. anchor an infield with some moving parts. Kevin Biggio, Santiago Espinal. And Schneider could be considered for the second base job with Isaiah Kiner Falefa. Likely to see most of the action at third after Matt Chapman's departure as a free agent. Justin Turner could see some action at either corner. Is this getting your juices flowing a little bit, Moose, for the Toronto Blue Jays? I should tell you that the poll ended this way yesterday. The majority voted for 4th or 5th. Jays will finish 4th or 5th. That's what our audience thinks. Not very optimistic about the Blue Jays in 2024. You and I think, both voted for second place, right? So maybe we're completely out to lunch.
We might be, but I think that talks about our excitement level, at least, or where we think, the Jays are going into the season. It is fun to think about. And what's great about a new season, I think why we get so excited for opening day, is that everybody's got a chance and everybody's got hope and optimism and all those fun things until you throw the first pitch and then you realize who's got what. But, I'm excited. I think it's going to be fun.
Well, just hearing these names and, maybe this will be the year that we head over to Dunedin to watch some Blue Jays grapefruit baseball. There's no plans to do that. We just headed over to the West Coast, the Gulf Coast last weekend to watch the Tampa Bay Lightning and Florida Panthers. You can't go there all the time. But yeah, that's what the offseason is for, optimism, like you say. So let's not get down on the Jays. You and I won't. Jen at the Four Seasons writes in, she says, it's like 35 days till opening day, I think. Something like that. That's a direct quote of what she said. So she's at least somewhat following the calendar. And Blue Jays baseball. But the main thing is we're into hockey, and that ain't going to change. But we're also in the football preseason. And number one, I told you that I talked to a CFL coach. It was a rider coach this morning. And they're very optimistic, right? The fans are optimistic. Everybody's optimistic. Everybody's tied for first even in the Canadian Football League right now. And the NFL too. And while I don't think much is going to change in Saskatchewan, it's very hard not to talk to this guy. He's very excited, very fired up, right? He should be. I don't have very high expectations. And I don't want to be the guy peeing on the parade. Again, not that optimistic. But on the football vein, point 5 is this. I want you, Darren, and the audience's opinion on the Kelseys. Are we ready to have them go away for a while, or do we need them up in our face every day, which incidentally, it's not their fault. Headline at yahoo.com this morning, Travis Kelce arrives in Australia ahead of Taylor Swift, whatever the name of her tour is. I'm like, cool. So he's going to follow her around. That's good. I saw a video of Jason Kelce participating in a 5K run. Did you see that? The headline, Jason Kelce runs 5K for charity. And he retweeted it and said, run might be a stretch. But he's a funny guy. So I have no problem with where the Kelces are. And, I guess they don't take an off season either.
I have no problem with it. I don't need to follow, Travis's following of Taylor Swift around because you know what? That's what I expect him to do. I expect him to be wherever she is, going to all the shows. Now it's his off season. But I'm here for all the content, especially, their podcast is growing like crazy and I'm here for that. They're funny. They're entertaining. I'm here for that for sure. So give me more of the Kelces. I'm not going to run out of the.
Yeah.
No.
We're not going to be haters on that. I told you the night before the Super Bowl, I watched the Saturday Night Live, whatever you want to call it, marathon of Travis Kelce skits from his time on SNL, of which I don't watch SNL, and I never have. So I'm watching this going, damn, why is he playing football? He's funny as hell. He's really good. Actor. Travis Kelce, right? So much that I don't like SNL that I used to get mad in the 80s when I was a kid if it preempted Saturday Night Raw or whatever pro wrestling I was watching or the Golden Girls on NBC. You know what I mean? SNL. Not a fan. Never was. So it was all new to me the night before Super Bowl watching the Travis Kelce marathon. So now back. Hey, by the way, we do have a lot of fun here. We try to cover every topic. That's why we call it the Golden Corral of Sports. A lot of hockey fans have written in, and I'm going to get to your questions now. But I'm going to tell you again, and I don't mind cross-promoting it, the Cats and Bolts podcast that Serena and I host will drop this afternoon. It features Jeff Chikrin today, and we get into all the wants and desires around the National Hockey League. You can find it on YouTube, and I'll post it to my links as well. Jason in Winnipeg writes in on the Sober Carpenter text line. He was watching on the replay. I feel terrible. People watch the replay, which airs at 5 p.m. Eastern, and think we're live, Darren, and they write in, and then I don't write them back, and I'm afraid that they're mad at me. Jason from Winnipeg says, what do you think the Jets do at the trade deadline? Add another forward? Or a big D-man, or stand pat? What do I think? Jason, I hope you're watching live right now. I'd like to know what you think the Winnipeg Jets would do, because I'm not just the voice in the chair. I'm not just a pretty face. I know a thing or two. I'm an advocate for dancing with the one that brought you. I don't like making all these trades. I don't, man. There will be teams that don't, and there will be teams that do. Hannafin's going to end up somewhere. Tanev's going to end up somewhere. Jacob Markstrom might end up somewhere. Shoot, Jacob. Well, that's another one. Jacob Chikrin is like 12th. Jacob Chikrin of the Sens is 12th on TSN's trade bait. And I was with his dad yesterday. He's like, I don't understand why Jacob's on the list. He's still got another year left in his contract after this. He's not looking to leave Ottawa. That's their second hometown. I'm not saying TSN's wrong, but it's a lot of gobbledygook. So, do the Jets, they don't need anything. They clearly don't. Would they go 32 games allowing 3 goals or less, a franchise record? I'd like to see the Jets not do anything. They already got Sean Monahan, who filled the net Monday in Calgary, scored 3. What more do they need, Darren?
Rod, what's been the biggest issue that plagued the Jets over the last couple years that's been their downfall? It's been the locker room. That's been their downfall, right?
Yeah, bad culture.
Yeah.
I was going to say that, yes.
Bad culture, bad locker room. So you finally got it right. Don't tweak it. Don't touch it, right? Just leave it. You finally got it right. Sometimes you just got to take your hands off the wheels and let a good thing continue to be a good thing.
I'll never forget. I've told it before. I'll tell it again. Larry Horning, former St. Louis Blues player, Brad Horning's dad. Brad had his number 8 retired by the Regina Pats, God's team. And Larry went on a scout for the Blues. And one time he came up to me in the bowels of the Agrodome, and he pulled me aside. Larry did, and he goes, I like what you guys are doing. I said, what are we doing? And he goes, you didn't make any trades at the deadline. You're sticking with what you got. I like that. And I think that year we went to Game 7 of the East Final. You know what I mean? So it doesn't matter if it's junior or NHL. Kelly McCrimmon said it. It's just to scale. I don't think the Jets need to do anything, and Darren said it far better than I could. Buffalo Bill writes in from North Dakota. He says, greetings and no hallucinations from sunny North Dakota. Can Austin Matthews carry the Leafs through the spring for a color Stanley Cup photo? I mean, that's not an answer that you and I can get. I'm just reading his, or an answer that we can give, Darren. I'm sitting here looking at Dubas, and we've often said, what's his legacy with the Leafs? And even to this day, I'm not sure that there's an answer to that yet. Maybe 10, 15, 20 years down the line, we can look back at Kyle Dubas and say, this was his legacy, what, getting out of round one for the first time since Christ was a Cowboy? But he didn't screw it up. The Leafs are in contention every year. End of story. I don't think there's much more you can ask. Really?
No, there's not much more you can ask. It's just a matter of, will they dig deep enough and find whatever they need in the playoffs to go on a run? You know, the talent's there. It's all there. But can you find a little extra gear and find that heart to get to the next level? That's all it is.
I'm just looking at some notes. Well, okay. Fake Gainer writes in on the Sober Carpenter text line. He says, hey, I've been getting sick of Tay-Tay and Kelsey coverage, but this is much better than the OJ stuff 30 years ago. I'll take Tay-Tay nonstop over the juice. Signed, Vintage Sasko in Greenwood, Saskatchewan. That's what I say. It's all positive. So if you don't like this love story of Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, you're a hater. I don't care for her music because I think her voice sounds like everybody else. But that's about the music. As far as her being a Chiefs fan and all the rest, it doesn't hurt anybody. There are a lot of messages from our viewers to get to when we come back. It's just me and the Moose in hour one. Tyler Hall, not Taylor Hall, Tyler Hall in hour two, and Mike Wilner. We'll be right back on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
Everything I've worked for, everything I've sacrificed, has led to this. It's out of your hands now. All the gold medals in the world can't help you now. You could throw the perfect rock and still miss, but it just takes one. You leave it all out there on the ice to leave behind a legacy.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at IKSGameDay.com.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. BDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
At the Key Auto Group Pre-Owned Division, we're bringing back that new car feeling. No matter what, it's new to you and priced just right. No hidden fees, prices you can trust, an upfront buying experience. And it's all at keyautogroup.ca.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
Hey, as you can see, it's a great day to have a great day. Hope you're having a great one yourself. We're going to get to a Scotties update in a second. They got 4 playoff spots locked down, but not all of them. You can be there at Winsport in Calgary. Curling.ca/tickets is the place to go for your tickets. And you can be at the Briar, the Montana's Briar in the Queen City. Join the RP show live there. Tickets are on sale now. Single draw tickets. Again, curling.ca/tickets. All youth tickets are just $9.99. Before we bring the Moose back in, Rachel Homan locked in a playoff berth early at the Scotties with a commanding 10-3 win over BC's Clancy Grandy Wednesday to secure a booking in the round of 6 in Calgary. Alberta's Selena Sturmey and defending champion Carrie Anderson, as well as Manitoba's Jennifer Jones, all locked up playoff spots. The race, though, for the third and final berth at each pool has extended into today. Meanwhile, in the dub, Tristan Doyle and Leo Brayard scored twice each as the Lethbridge Hurricanes topped the Moose Jaw Warriors 6-3. And in Edmonton, Gavin Hodnett knocked in the game winner at 19:50 the third period as the Edmonton Oil Kings edged the Hitmen 5-4. Sports update brought to you by Common Crown Brewing Company, turning your everyday common beer into a unique and exceptional experience. You got a choice out there. Make it Common Crown. Check them out at commoncrown.ca. And also, Landmark Cinemas and Landmark Cinemas Now, Argyle. Here's the story. An introverted spy novelist is drawn into the activities of a sinister underground syndicate, starring Samuel L. Jackson, Bryan Cranston, and John Cena. Argyle in Landmark Cinemas Now. If we can bring the Moose back in. I love how Moose went out on a limb with your thoughts on the Winnipeg Jets, and you're saying you finally got the culture fixed. Why fiddle with it now? Yeah, it's a fan thing. We could maybe say it's a Winnipeg thing. David, number 1 of Winnipeg, writes in and he says on the Sober Carpenter text line, the Jets are like a good recipe. They need a little more spice. Maybe someone like Tarasenko. Hold that thought, Darren. And regarding the Expos documentary, the soon-to-be released on Netflix documentary on the departure of the Expos from Montreal, Jim in Balgony, Sask writes in and he says, Expo story, southbound or northern exit. Translate into French if you wish. I'm going to stick with au revoir. Would you add Vladimir Tarasenko if you were the Jets? He did win a Stanley Cup with St. Louis, so he's been through the wars. But he didn't do anything for the Rangers last year.
I would think about it. I mean, I'm definitely not shutting the doors on anything. You got to have an open mind, but you got to be really careful. He talks about a good recipe. It's a good recipe for a reason. I cooked a meal last week. It was fantastic. So good that I cooked it again a few nights later. And I thought, you know what? I could add a little cayenne pepper, a little more spice to it. I ruined it by just adding a little more spice. So you got to be really careful if you're shovel day off in the jet.
By the way, just checking in from the comments. My guy, Jeff Pearson, writing in on the 902 Sober Carpenter text line. And he says, hey, Rod, enjoying your show from beautiful Weimer Lake, Minnesota. Let me say this, and I want your take, Jeff. He's as good a hockey man as there is. Jeff Pearson, hotelier to the stars. If I'm at the top, unless you want to burn yourself out to win the pennant in your division or put a banner up as a conference champion, which the Boston Bruins did last year, then yeah. But I would say the middling teams, the Washingtons, the Pittsburgh, even the Islanders, the Flames are going to be sellers, it looks like, so we won't put them in. But anybody that's flirting around that cut line, those are the teams that should be active. But if you're up at the top and you're battling for first, I wouldn't be adding anything because there's a reason that you're at first or around first. Do you know what I'm saying? It's the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th teams that should be making moves here, not the 1, 2, 3 teams, is what I'm trying to say. Deal or no deal?
Yeah, deal. 100%. Unless you are so sure of your locker room and there's something undeniable out there, you know, places you could go that don't really, again, I don't think affect the culture too much. Improving your backup goaltender situation as a, you know, insurance policy, that's something that's okay. You know, maybe it's a piece that doesn't touch your locker room that can be, you know, sitting up in the stands or in your farm team as you know, an emergency. But no, I wouldn't be touching anything. You're right. You're in first place for a reason. Everybody's chasing you.
By the way, next segment, we're going to play our breakaway bet, so don't go anywhere after this. We got a few minutes left in this segment. But here in Florida, here's an interesting inside tidbit. I was sitting with one of the guys from the Panthers alumni the other night at the game, and I won't say where. And we're talking about the Cats and Bolts podcast, and I'm like, who should we get? Because we've got like everybody in the Florida hockey community on the show already. Dale Talon, Jeff Chikrin, Bill Lindsay, Ed Jovanovski, Peter Worrell, Randy Moeller, and we're done. It's like 5 guys. Maybe we should be sponsored by a burger joint. There's a couple other guys around, Ray Shepard, Thomas Vokoun, who don't actually work for the team. But other than that, there aren't many. Maybe Stephen Weiss. But I'll say this, Bill Zito, the general manager here, is really lucky because it's not a hockey market. People aren't on his ass for any perceived mistakes. Like, here's a really good example. Would you do this trade again? 2 years ago, they got Claude Giroux, remember, from Philadelphia at the deadline? And they gave up Owen Tippett. And I remember at the time going, this Owen Tippett's a stud, man. He's a stud. There are very few players have I seen go from 0 to 60 as fast as Owen Tippett. He could have been a great Florida Panther. But they traded for Claude Giroux in a rental. Giroux didn't do anything here in the playoffs. I think he was pointless, and then signed at Ottawa as a free agent right after. And nobody brings that up, is my point. Nobody. I had dreams of watching Owen Tippett for years here in Sunrise, and he's gone. And doing great things on Philadelphia, by the way. Every time you see Philly play, it's always Owen Tippett scored the winner or set up the winner or whatever. So you better be real careful, is my point on that, when you're making deals.
Yeah. You got to be careful. And you are the guy that...
Whatever. He didn't do anything. They lost. Continue.
Well,
I was there. I watched.
I like, you know, the way you look at things. You have more of a long-term look at things too. You know, not just always looking for the instant gratification. And so, you know, keeping Owen Tippett is better for the long-term success of the franchise, which is, you know, kind of what you're ultimately looking for. But at the time, I remember not hating it because Claude Giroux was one of the elite players in the National Hockey League, done so much for Philadelphia over the years. You know, he had represented the country, he had done all these different things. And, you know, I would say he's an elite player. And so you think you're bringing him in. I probably go back and, if you think you have a chance to contend for a cup or win, I probably do that again, because that's the kind of guy you're bringing in. You can't predict that you're going to bring in the guy and he's going to completely do nothing. That's a hard thing to predict. It ended up failing, but just because a deal fails doesn't necessarily mean it was a bad one at the time, if that makes sense.
It did not put him over the top.
No, it didn't.
Jay in Winnipeg says, no love for Hella in the Hart voting? No. And Darren went and looked up the Vegas odds on the Hart. The top four are the ones that are in this poll. Give Hellebuck the Vezina and don't worry about it. It's very rare that a goalie wins the Hart. We talked about this earlier in the show. We'll be back with Bet Regal breakaway bets right after this. And by the way, Darren, we tied last night, just so you know. We both went 3-2. I don't know if you looked it up. We're live on Game Plus TV, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
Everything I've worked for, everything I've sacrificed, has led to this. It's out of your hands now. All the gold medals in the world can't help you now. You could throw the perfect rock and still miss, but it just takes one. You leave it all out there on the ice to leave behind a legacy.
This is it. It all comes down to this rock. The hours in the gym, the weeks away from my family. This is what I've been training for. And all those voices trying to tear me down, I'm here to silence them. We've given everything we have for a chance to get everything we want.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult, because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. DDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers, Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Did you know you can catch all the best moments from the show on all our social media platforms? Now, back to the studio with Rod.
Daily reminder, we are on national television, Game Plus TV, all across Canada and 31 U.S. states, and on the radio in Atlanta, where we are Atlanta's NHL show. Hashtag NHL to Atlanta. Get it going. And on the streams. Just before we bring the Moose in, I was saying that we put it out to our audience here in South Florida. Who do you want on the Cats and Bolts podcast? Brent from Wellington, Florida writes in. He's the guy in this photo with me holding that 40-foot sailfish that he caught and let me hold and let everybody think that I caught it. Brent says, I vote for Katie for a Cats and Bolts guest, Rod. She is the very blonde, very popular host of Florida Panthers hockey on Valley Sports, Florida. We'll put in the request, Brent. We aim to please. No promises. Okay, Moose, we've really started something here today, which is what we like to do. Jeff in Yorkton, home of Key Auto Group, writes in, he says, does Hellebuck steal games for the Jets? If so, then I could see him as MVP. But he looks more like a cog in a machine with that team. Regarding trades, which incidentally was not a trade deadline deal here, John Ohm says the most controversial trade in the history of the NHL, Oilers sending Wayne Gretzky to the LA Kings in what turned out to be an 8-player deal. It changed hockey forever. For sure the most controversial. And if you say, now's not the time to go into that argument, whoever got the best player won the trade. You know, because in that trade, if that adage is true, that the Kings won the trade. And I'm sure they did, although the Oilers went on to win the Stanley Cup just 2 years later. How do we feel about that?
Yeah, I like the best player that wins, that you get wins the trade. Typically, not in all cases.
Got that from my guy O-Dog, and I'm not totally sure I agree on it, but I'm not disagreeing with it either. Okay, quickly, breakaway bets for Bet Regal. We tied last night, 3 of 5 correct picks by Moose and I. Rangers at Devils tonight, Subway Series. Who you like, Rangers or Devils?
Rangers.
Me too. Dallas at Ottawa. We got to hurry. Dallas at Ottawa.
Dallas.
Me too. Montreal at Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh.
Me too. Florida at Carolina.
Carolina.
Florida here. Colorado at Detroit.
Detroit.
Colorado for me. Washington at Tampa Bay.
Tampa.
Same. Islanders at Blues.
I'll take Islanders.
I'll take the Blues. Boston at Calgary.
Boston.
I'll take the Flames. Vancouver at Seattle.
Vancouver.
Quick. Toronto at Vegas.
Toronto.
Vegas here. Nashville at LA.
LA.
We did it. See you next hour.
Woo!
At the Key Auto Group Pre-Owned Division, we're bringing back that new car feeling. No matter what, it's new to you and priced just right. No hidden fees, prices you can trust, an upfront buying experience. And it's all at keyautogroup.ca.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. BDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the City of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at iksgameday.com.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
It's like Ravine, the famed illusionist. He would hypnotize the whole crowd. My dad always told this joke. He goes, oh, yeah, Ravine was performing at the Center of the Arts. He had the whole room hypnotized. And he said, the next thing I say, you will all do. And he got tripped up, tangled on his mic cord and tripped and went, crap. Took him 2 weeks to get the smell out.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Hey, everybody. Thank you, Producer Clark. That was one of my dad's favorite jokes. No, that was one of my dad's few funny jokes. He had a lot of jokes. That was a good one. The man they call Ravine. Welcome to Hour 2 of your favorite daytime sports talk show where we cover all sports. We're the Golden Corral of Sports Talk, episode number 1186. And Clark, you give me the go-ahead when you're ready with Mike Wilner from the Deep Left Field podcast. Mike Wilner covers Blue Jays baseball better than anybody else. Again, it's one of those days where you never know what's going to happen on the RP show. That's what makes it so much fun. Trade deadline talk, we've covered a lot of it, and what we kind of got to the bottom of here is what I think, not saying I'm right, but what I think is if you're a team in the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, or 10th hole in the NHL, depending on the conference, that's who should be looking at making the moves. I think the ones at the top of their divisions should not, i.e., Jets. They've already made their thing with Sean Monahan. They made a lot of their moves in the offseason. Still a bun in the oven. Let it cook, man. Don't be adding any ingredients now. That's what I think. And we'll be talking a lot more of that this hour. The topics come up of the best and worst trades of all time in NHL history. And, of course, the 99 trade. Thank you to John Ohm in Winnipeg. Who says for sure it's the most controversial trade in NHL history, not necessarily who won or lost. August 9th, 1988. Hey, thank you, Jen, at the Four Seasons. She writes in and says the Jays play on Saturday against the Phillies. Spring training actually begins today. Cactus League games. The first one, Dodgers Padres. They get going this afternoon, 3:10 Eastern in Peoria. So thank you for chiming in on the baseball. And that's why we have Mike Wilner with us today when he is able to join us. But one thing I also want to take on this before we talk about the mighty Blue Jays, which you people voted are going to be 4th or 5th this year in the American League East. But there is another very interesting story coming out with regards to MLB and Canada, where we are on national television on Game Plus TV. Netflix announced Wednesday that a new documentary about Major League Baseball's Montreal Expos and their departure from their Canadian home will be coming to their platform. The currently untitled documentary is set to explore the setbacks that led to the departure of Canada's first MLB team and how it continues to spark debate 20 years later, according to Netflix. The Expos arrived in Montreal for the 1969 season and played in the city until 2004 before moving to Washington and becoming the Nationals. So Darren being born in 88, he wasn't the biggest Expos fan like a lot of us were, children of the 70s and 80s. It was the first team that I ever loved in baseball, the Expos for sure. And I was asking Darren in our audience an hour ago, what do you remember 20 years ago about the Expos leaving town? We just knew that it wasn't good. They couldn't get a TV deal. I remember watching the games on the Score because nobody else wanted Expos broadcasts, and Sammy Cosentino was in a closet in Toronto calling Expos games from the Big O. Wasn't even there. They're ahead of their time, as it turns out. But the setbacks included conflicts between the city of Montreal and owner Jeffrey Loria over the construction of a new stadium, the firing of manager Philippe Alou, and dwindling fan support. Well, the team, as I recall near the end, wasn't that good. And we all remember the famed 94 season and the strike when the Expos were on their way to, it looked like winning the World Series, and then, boop, lockout, and that was the end of that. We're asking the audience today, what do you recall of that time, and what would you name the documentary? My title was Au revoir, French for goodbye. But let's start there with Mike Wilner. We got him now from the Deep Left Field podcast. As you probably saw, Mike, before we get to the Jays, Netflix announcing yesterday this documentary is coming out on the Expos leaving in 2004. What do you remember about that time and the Expos' entire tenure in Montreal?
Well, about that time specifically, I remember going to a couple of games in Montreal. I can't remember if it was a Jays series. I know earlier I covered it for 680, but I left there in 2001. So it must have been for the radio. I remember Esteban Loaiza pitching and throwing his teammates under the bus after the game, which was horrible. But most of all, I remember that there were about 3,000 people in the stadium, and they sounded like 30. Like, they were loud. Everyone would grab the chair beside them and start pounding it because it was empty. They made noise. They got excited. And I remember thinking, wow, there are 3,000 people here in this stadium, and they are louder than 15, 18,000 people at the Dome, which is what the crowds that we used to get at home were like. So that's the biggest impact that Montreal made on me in its late stages, for sure. The biggest Montreal memory I have, though, obviously, would be in 2018, in spring training, when Vladimir Guerrero Jr. hit that walk-off home run with 2 out in the ninth to break up the 0-0 game, and it was just so magical and such an incredible moment. And I did that game with Elliot Price on the radio, who had called so many Expos games over the years, and he was in tears when it was done. It was just that's my most incredible memory of the Big O, and the Expos weren't even there.
Yeah, I'm eager to watch this documentary. Are you?
Yeah, it absolutely. I'm all for any Expos stuff. I love those teams in the 70s. I told the story, I can't remember to who, a couple of days ago, or I think it was on my podcast on Deep Left Field last week when we had a mailbag and somebody asked about my favorite Expo memory. And I remember that the day I was in grade 5, the day I got my braces off, I was 11 years old, was Black Monday. And I remember leaving the orthodontist and not wanting to leave because the game was on, but I got on a bus to go home, and the driver of a TTC bus had the Expos game on the bus. So I sat up there and listened with him, and I heard that Rick Monday home run, and it was just heartbreaking. And 1994 was just heartbreaking. There was so much heartbreaking about the Montreal Expos, but that you can only have your heart broken if you're in love, right? So they were a really lovable and exciting team.
Let me see those things. Give me a smile, Mike.
What do you want to see?
Money well spent. Those teeth are straight. They did a great job. Yeah, we got the braces off. Yeah, they look good.
Yeah.
Okay, and hey.
My money well spent.
You didn't come on here expecting probably to talk about all this, but I'll just ask you this lastly before we turn the page to the Blue Jays. Do you see Major League Baseball returning to Montreal in a permanent, full-time capacity?
I'd love to. I really would love for that to happen. I don't know. I hope so. I'll say that. I hope so. I believe that, once the Oakland situation gets sorted out, and who knows what the hell is going to happen there yet. I'm not buying for a second still that they're moving permanently to Las Vegas. Vegas doesn't want them. They don't even know where they're going to play next year. So I don't know what's going to happen there. I think ultimately a deal winds up being made and the team is sold and they stay in Oakland. But once they settle that situation, once they settle Tampa Bay, then they will look to expand. Will they expand to Montreal? I mean, I hope so. I really do. I think that they might be a little more interested in going west, maybe to Vegas if Oakland falls through, or to Portland, and maybe to going somewhere in either Tennessee or North Carolina. But I really, really do hope that Montreal's in there.
To the Blue Jays, our audience is not that optimistic. We had a poll yesterday. Where do you expect them to finish? And the majority voted 4th or 5th in the American League East. Is that apathy reach the people you're talking to, or is that just our viewers?
I don't know if it's apathy. I think, Fangraph says the Blue Jays are going to finish 4th in the AL East. It's difficult to look at this offseason and say that they've done what they wanted to do, that they've improved in any sort of significant way. But very, very rarely does a team with excellent pitching and defense miss the playoffs, 1, and not make a decent run, 2. The Blue Jays were an anomaly last year when they won 89 games, made the playoffs in the last spot, and went out so quickly in the first round despite leading the league in pitching and defense. And I don't think that's going to happen again. The question for me is, can they keep the pitching healthy? If they can, they're going to be very, very good. They really are. They're as frustrating and as disappointing and as awful as last year was. We forget that they won 89 games. That's 1 fewer game than the team that won the World Series. Texas won 90. The Blue Jays didn't win a game in the playoffs, but neither did Baltimore and neither did Tampa Bay. I really believe in the internal improvements. I mean, I saw Vladimir Guerrero Jr. this week. He looks incredible. Alek Manoah looks like he's dropped 50 pounds, and he's in incredible shape, and he looks like himself, and he's got his old demeanor about him, which is wonderful. I'm expecting a better season from Dalton Varsho. I think that Justin Turner really, really, really does help this team. I think they were intentional in bringing a guy like Turner over to sort of teach these guys how to meet the moment. What stands out incredibly for me about Justin Turner is that he's got a career OPS of 8. I might get this backwards, but I think it's a career regular season OPS of 829. And in the playoffs, it's 830. He is exactly the same guy in the playoffs as he is in the regular season, which speaks volumes. The approach doesn't change. The moment does not ever get too big for him. And that's something that a lot of these Blue Jays could stand to learn, not just in the playoffs, but, how many times last year did we see everybody coming up to the plate in all these 2-1, 3-2, 1-0 games, thinking they've got to be the one to be the hero. Turner's approach, if he can teach them that, would help tons, I think. I think this is going to be a really good team this year, but at the same time, I don't think there's any way for them to generate any buzz until they start going out and winning.
By the way, way back at the start of this, the term apathy was the wrong term for me. Pessimism, maybe, but no, they do care. They just don't expect them to do too well. So just to clarify on that, you're right. It was not the proper
last
term.
thing you want is apathy.
Yeah. Yeah.
When the fans are apathetic, you're done. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Hyun-Jin Ryu, what's his legacy in Toronto in your mind?
I mean, he's the guy who flipped the switch on the team, right? They lost 95 games in 2019, and we weren't sure what sort of level of rebuild the Blue Jays were looking at. We were confident because Bo Bichette and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Kevin Biggio all made their major league debuts in 2019, that this wasn't going to be an Astros or Cubs type rebuild where they were going to be awful for a decade. But Ryu advanced things forward. He signed. He was the most coveted left-handed starter on the free agent market. The Blue Jays got him. They got him because they were willing to add a fourth year, and they got him by giving him the largest free agent contract they had ever given to any player in the history of the franchise. And that showed that they were willing to play with the big boys. And they had not showed that before. Really, really ever. They had not showed that they were willing to play with the big boys. In 2015 and 16, most of the acquisitions were by trades. They did give Russ Martin the big contract, but they traded for Josh Donaldson. They traded for David Price. They traded for Marco Estrada. And they developed a lot of their own guys. Bautista and Encarnacion, they developed even though they didn't draft them or sign them originally. So this was the first time they showed that they were willing to really spend like they mean it. And I think that opened the door for George Springer, the most coveted free agent on the market, to sign here the next year. It opened the door for them to get Kevin Gausman and give him $110 million. It opened the door for them to lock up Jose Barrios to that 7-year deal after they traded for him. And it really did show teams that they meant business. And Hyun-Jin Ryu was here for 4 years, and they made the playoffs 3 times in those 4 years. The last time the Jays made the playoffs 3 times in 4 years was 91, 92, and 93. So I really do think he had a very, very significant impact. Don't forget, he was a Cy Young finalist his first year. I think he finished second in 2020. So I think his impact was huge.
Mike, lastly, can you please tell our audience where they can find Deep Left Field and what you got going on here as we open spring training?
Yeah, absolutely. You can find Deep Left Field wherever you get podcasts, whether you listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or you can go to thestar.com and find it there. It's everywhere. Podcasts are wonderfully distributed. So just search Deep Left Field in your podcast platform, podcatcher. And I just spent 6 days in Dunedin. 6 days grinding it out at camp. I came out with 16 interviews that will be played at various points on the podcast over the course of spring training. But today's episode that comes out in an hour or two is pretty significant. Bo Bichette and John Schneider are on the show, and Bo speaks really powerfully about the things that went wrong last year, about his expectations for this year, about what he needs to do, and how he's going to take a step forward as a leader. The changes, we talk about Vladdy needing to get into shape. and Manoah needing to get into shape, and Alejandro Kirk needing to get into shape. Nobody talked about Bo Bichette needing to get into shape, and Bo transformed his body as well over the offseason because he wasn't thrilled about the way his season went, getting hurt in August and September. You'll hear a lot of really, really good, deep, powerful stuff from Bo. And then a 36-minute conversation with the manager, John Schneider, a great one-on-one about last year, about the year before, about this year, about him, his ties to the organization that I think a lot of people aren't aware of. There's nobody with the Blue Jays, nobody who's been in that organization as long as he has. John Schneider was drafted by the Jays in 2022. Pete Walker beat him by like 6 weeks when the Jays picked him up in May of that year, but Walker has left and gone back and come back. But Schneider has incredible ties to this team. He bleeds blue, and really all he's been, I think all the fans see him as a sort of a target for their frustrations. So you'll hear two amazing conversations on Deep Left Field this week, and you'll hear plenty more over the course of the spring.
Sounds great. Mike, I always enjoy our chats. Thanks for this, brother, and have a great time following the Blue Jays. I can't wait till we chat again.
Thanks, Rod. And if I could, just for 1 second, give a little plug to this little studio I'm in here. Yesterday, I was talking to Jordan Romano and Eric Swanson about their spring training obsession with baseball cards. And they told me about this store in north of Toronto called Mint Inc. And I popped in here to sort of follow up on the story and talk to the owners. And then it got to this time, and he said, hey, come back in our studio and do it. So this is a really cool place. You can see all the studio and the cards and the amazing things here. So this is what we got here at Mint Inc. in Toronto, and thank them for letting me use this studio.
Looks grand. Good stuff. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Rod.
Jays analyst, broadcaster, podcaster Mike Wilner. We'll be right back in a moment. We're live on Game Plus TV, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
This is it. It all comes down to this rock. The hours in the gym, the weeks away from my family. This is what I've been training for. And all those voices trying to tear me down, I'm here to silence them. We've given everything we have for a chance to get everything we want.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Everything I've worked for, everything I've sacrificed, has led to this. It's out of your hands now. All the gold medals in the world can't help you now. You could throw the perfect rock and still miss. But it just takes one. You leave it all out there on the ice to leave behind a legacy.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Nestled in the scenic Qu'Appelle Valley, just 20 minutes northwest of Regina, is one of the finest golf courses in all of Saskatchewan, the Deer Valley Golf Club. The clubhouse has a full-service restaurant, and customers can enjoy a casual dining experience with spectacular views of the golf course and valley. A fully stocked golf shop, staffed by PGA of Canada professionals, is equipped to meet all of your golf apparel and equipment needs. Book your tee time, family event, or corporate tournament today at the Deer Valley Golf Club. Call 306-731-1445.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
Hey, everybody. Day 7 underway at the Scotties. You can be there, curling.ca/tickets, down to standing room only there. But there are tickets available for single draws at the Montana's Briar. And the Rod Pedersen Show will be there in the Queen City, March 1st to the 10th, broadcasting live from the Brand Center. We'd love for you to join us, curling.ca/tickets, to watch the best men's curlers in the world go after the Canadian Men's Curling Championship. Let's bring the Moose in. And I got to be honest, Moose, thank you for hanging in. Wonderful chat with Mike Wilner there about Jays talk, about the Jays. Like, I remember Jock Wilson coming on our show, the peerless Stampeders and Flames broadcaster in Calgary, when we were at Century Downs. And he sat there like, he's like, it's nice to talk about something different, than Flames and Stamps. And it's same here. Nice to talk. We're not going to sit and talk about the Jays ad nauseum for 2 hours, but to bring in a guy like Mike that kind of knows where it's at, it's refreshing, It
is. And even for, to bring him on and then talk and reflect about the Expos and, what it would be like if they came back, and it would be really great. That's fun too, and what a cool setup, him being in the card shop and all the rest. That's kind of cool for them to welcome him in there, and a lot of fun for him.
Yeah, well, we're all trying to carve out our space and a living in this media world for those of us that do what we do. And a couple things come to mind on that. Number one, his studio there, where it looks like he's going to be doing deep left field. It reminds me of what we do here with our Panthers and Lightning podcast, Cats and Bolts. And I just noticed people do like the specific specialized podcast. There's room for that. And if you looked at the views of our Cats and Bolts podcast, it's like people like what we're doing. That's number one. But number two, I think deep down we're all baseball fans, aren't we? And when he brought up the 70s Expos and even the 80s, I'll be honest, this is what people probably might be surprised to know. I had as many baseball cards as I had hockey cards, and I used to line them up in the living room on the carpet at the farmhouse, and I would have first, second, third, fourth, pitcher, catch, outfield, and I would play with marbles of baseball, have my own little games with my baseball cards, and it was the Blue Jays against the Expos, because back then they didn't have interleague. They never played. I loved it. And it wasn't until I got into pro football that you don't have time for anything else. So it's nice to, A, talk a bit about it with a guy like Mike Wilner, and number two, do what we do here today, which is just daytime sports talk, the view for sports fans. Allie writes in, I noticed what she was saying. She's in Texas. She was afflicted by the same thing I was today. a lot of U.S. wireless carriers, I don't want to say the name of them, but you got your Verizons, your AT&T, your T-Mobiles. There was no data, no cell service. For a lot of us, I didn't have it, and it sounds like Allie didn't this morning either. She says, thanks, it was like taking a step back in time with no cell service. How did we ever do it? LOL. Well, it was 98% peaceful, that there was no getting a hold of each other, but 2% chaotic and a bit of a panic. Because as you know, and not as many people do, I've got my recovery clients, and part of the contract with me, mental health and addiction recovery, is I'm available 24/7. So there was guys, and I only deal with guys, male clients only, they couldn't get a hold of me. Panic. It's like, maybe it's a good thing, though. You will be okay. You'll be okay. You just got to wait until the cell service gets turned back on. You know, so that was part of our, some of our business does rely on that. But I said to Serena, there's a lot of people going through a lot worse than we are today that cell service is down. So, Allie, I'm glad to hear you made it. Okay, you survived. I heard about a kid one time, Darren, that survived 5 hours without Wi-Fi driving to the lake from their home.
What?
Like, I heard about that. 5 hours he went. Yeah, true story. True story, yeah.
What is this, a book?
How about that?
I know. I know. Hang on. Bear with me. Oh, here, I need to call up just some information about our sponsor at Key Auto Group. They sponsor our poll every day at the Key Auto Group. They're driven by safety. Experience peace of mind with our comprehensive multi-point inspections. Visit keyautogroup.ca for automotive excellence. And the poll question today is, who is the MVP this NHL season? And I'm not sure if we're teaching anybody anything here on this show daily, or if we're, spawning jihad and holy wars with these arguments. Because your options are Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews, Nathan McKinnon, or Nikita Kucherov. And it's like people are at each other's throats over who should win this thing. And Clark, what are they saying on YouTube? On Twitter, last I saw was Matthews. Okay, Matthews is leading? Okay, Matthews is leading by a long shot. And I'm not sure if that's the Toronto influence of our audience, or if there are people that don't cheer for the Leafs that still think Austin Matthews should be the MVP. For me, the Oilers are doing nothing without Connor McDavid. Nothing. Zero. Probably not even in a playoff spot. Whereas the Leafs can still win without Austin Matthews. That's my criteria. And Jay from Winnipeg writes that he says, why aren't goalies considered for MVP? It makes zero sense. Guy, from your lips to my ears and God's ears, I agree, but it is the way to. Why can't goalies be captains? Although I think now they can. But it's just the way that it is. It's just the way that it is.
It is. It's the way it is. But they can be MVP. It's happened before. And just to calm the Winnipeg people down, well, not to calm them down, but not to get them off our back and put them onto the sports book's back, here's the odds. Okay? And Connor Hellebuyck is 9th on the list. It's McKinnon, then Kucherov, Matthews, McDavid, Pasternak, Artemi Panarin, Quinn Hughes, Elias Pedersen, and then Connor Hellebuyck. And rounding out the top 10, your boy Sam Reinhart from the Panthers.
Isn't that interesting? Well, we'll see. Leading the way right now, Austin Matthews. Regarding sports topics, Jeff, the Stamps fan, writes in and he says, I could talk Stamps all day. I'm sure you could, but this is what I say about that. Who wants to talk about their job all day? Like, it's one thing when you're a fan. It's another when it's your job. You know, it's just...
Yeah.
Maybe some people do. How many people go home from work at the end of the day and talk all night about their job? You should have seen these teeth that I fixed today. For hours, the dentist is telling his wife. She's like, shut up! To me, I get tired of it. Any topic.
Yeah.
You?
Yeah, you need a little break once in a while. And sometimes it's nice to leave work at work sometimes it's nice to bring it home and have a conversation with the people you spend your life with, but there is a balance, man, because yeah, you get a lot. You need a break.
Well, there are certain teams and franchises where people don't ever get enough. It's kind of like what's the number one team in your town. Like here it's Dolphins, Dolphins, Dolphins. I had to stop listening to the radio, the local radio, because it's just too much Dolphins. In Calgary, the Flames talk drove me around the bend. And I'm sure in Toronto, that's what it is with Leafs talk. I'm not sure, but I get the sense that it is. I know in Dallas it is with the Cowboys. It's insane. I just feel like, would you not get tired of talking about the same thing all day, every day? Like, and the main thing is if you were getting somewhere with it, I got time for that. But I would be sitting, and you were with me at times at the sports lounge at Grey Eagle Casino, and staff would come up and go, where do you think Gaudreau's going to sign? What do you think is going to happen? They're all picking the wrong. Who picked Columbus? Nobody. You know what I mean? It's just a waste of time. I'd sit and talk about things that actually matter. You know? Anyways, regarding the cell service being down here in the States for certain carriers, Allie says, I just pulled out the radio, LOL. It actually worked when I turned it on. Oh, I could see that. You know, who has a transistor radio anymore? I went to buy one time at Walmart, and it was the ones you had to crank it up. They're in the case of Armageddon, we have radios that don't even need any power. You crank it up, and the radio will work. I didn't even think there were any anymore.
I didn't either. I did see one meme, though, the other day, and it said, Netflix and Hulu have one more price increase before I start dusting off my DVD player again. So that was pretty funny.
Randy from Winnipeg writes in, he says, I just watched the show. If all the computers in the world shut down for good at the same time, the world would be in chaos. Guy, our cell phones didn't work this morning, and there was almost a riot. If the computers shut down, it would be over. Wouldn't be able to spend any money. Wouldn't be able to buy any gas. It would be insane. Hey, Moose, I think you're done. We got Tyler Hall coming in next. Great show, man. Appreciate you.
You bet. Great show. Have a great day.
We'll be right back. We're live on Game Plus Television all across Canada and in 70,000 homes in Saskatchewan. Also on the radio in Atlanta, WQEE, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
Everything I've worked for, everything I've sacrificed, has led to this. It's out of your hands now. All the gold medals in the world can't help you now. You could throw the perfect rock and still miss. But it just takes one. You leave it all out there on the ice to leave behind a legacy.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
This is it. It all comes down to this rock. The hours in the gym, the weeks away from my family. This is what I've been training for. And all those voices trying to tear me down, I'm here to silence them. We've given everything we have for a chance to get everything we want.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Oh, yeah, he's back. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
Hey, everybody, as we sit here right now, at this very moment, we're just over 24 hours away from your deadline to buy Telemiracle 50/50 tickets. And by the way, the raffle proceeds will stay in Saskatchewan and will be part of Telemiracle 48, supporting the great work of the Kinsman Foundation. So if you haven't got yours yet, you can get yours now at telemiracle5050.com. You only got to be 18 or over and in the province of Sask to buy yours. You know, Tyler Hall has. Tyler joins us from Telemiracle 48. Tyler, welcome to the RP show. I know that we're getting down to the nitty-grit, but as Brad Johnner told us when he was on months ago, it's a very busy week, all week for Telemiracle and the Kinsman people. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it is. We're ramping up. I'm actually doing tours right now with Brad and Lisa Franks, and we're in Moose Jaw right now doing some PR and corporate tours and seeing where the money that we raise goes to and thanking the people that raise the money for corporate donations. And the show starts in a couple days, so getting pretty excited.
Yeah, well, by the way, thanks for fitting us in, Tyler, because that sounds like a busy day, and the people you're with are good friends of mine, so please say hey for me. What have you seen this week? Is this a tour that you've done before? Like, I think people kind of need to know or would like to know where the money goes when they support Telemiracle.
Yeah, we've been doing these PR tours for a couple days now, and yeah, all the money raised from our Telemiracle, their telethon, stays right here in Saskatchewan. So the money we raise goes to people in need for medical travel, to go cancer treatments or surgery that's out of province. Or we also do funding for wheelchairs, scooters, van conversions, lifts for your house. So everything. People in need. And
right, it's helping.
Yeah, it's all people right in Saskatchewan.
Helping Saskatchewan residents with their quality of life. How long have you been involved, and why did you get involved, Tyler?
Yes, I've been involved for 15 years, and my parents were heavily involved in Kinsman Telemiracle, and my dad was actually chair of Telemiracle 32. So I'm just taking on and following his legacy and of being a Telemiracle supporter and being a chair. So
we've had people actually that were benefactors or beneficiaries of Telemiracle watching this show write in and actually say thank you for supporting the charity, and they said they'd like to be in a position one day to give back. Can you talk about that? What's the reaction been from the folks that you've met that have been on the receiving end of these funds?
Yeah, I sat on the board before this role on the foundation committee that gives out the money to all the people in need. And it's so rewarding to talk to them and hear their life story and grant them that wish that'll change their life. Like whether it's a wheelchair or a lift or something, just give them their independence back and give them life again. So, and then like even if it's like a child like in need that needs to go to the hospital, like yeah, if there's a child that needs to go to the hospital and sometimes it's emergency, like you have to go right now, and we do have emergency funding to help out with that too. Like you just put in your application and we'll fund it right away if you need that money.
As the chair, I think you can answer this question. How much has the addition of the 50-50 helped the bottom line of Telemiracle?
Yeah, it sure helped. As of right now, I just checked like an hour ago, and it's $140,000 a pot right now, so you get half of that. And yeah, every dollar helps. That'll buy the whole van conversion kind of thing for somebody in need. So hopefully that pot keeps on growing for the next, we draw in about just over 24 hours. So I can't get a ticket since I'm the chair, but everybody else can, so.
Yeah, if anybody hasn't, telemiracle5050.com is your chance to get yours. Again, the rules, you got to be 18 or over and in the province of Saskatchewan to do it. And lastly, since you've been involved with Telemiracle for so long, Tyler, what is your secret to staying up for the entire telethon? A lot of people try it. Not everybody can do it. What's your secret?
Sometimes it's a lot of coffee and just the high of being there with everybody, and just the atmosphere is just overwhelming. So just keeps you going.
All right. Well, enjoy your time in Moose Jaw. Say hi to my friends, please, Tyler. And thanks for being part of this with us. We really appreciate it. Have a great weekend and good luck.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Tyler Hall of Telemiracle 48. And I'll say it one more time. All proceeds are going to Telemiracle 48, supporting Saskatchewan's charity. Visit telemiracle.com to learn how the Kinsman Foundation is helping people every day in Saskatchewan to improve their independence and quality of life. You're down to about 24 hours left to be able to buy your tickets, and then the big telethon goes this weekend. We'll be right back with Overtime after this. We are live on Game Plus Television, Key Radio, all the streams, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
Everything I've worked for, everything I've sacrificed, has led to this. It's out of your hands now. All the gold medals in the world can't help you now. You could throw the perfect rock and still miss, but it just takes one. You leave it all out there on the ice to leave behind a legacy.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at iksgameday.com.
At the Key Auto Group Pre-Owned Division, we're bringing back that new car feeling. No matter what, it's new to you and priced just right. No hidden fees, prices you can trust, an upfront buying experience. And it's all at keyautogroup.ca.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
You got something to say? You want to add to the show? What are you waiting for? Don't just sit there. Say something. Now, back to the studio with Rod.
Hey, yes, we're back. And we are live on Game Plus TV. We got a lot of messages to get to here. And they pretty much all have to do with the wonderful sport of hockey. And Overtime is brought to you by our friends at Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. I'm ringing the bell because our COO Joe Gunnis told me today we've renewed our deal, guys, with Overtime Hockey Lanes. They love what we're doing, and we love what they're doing. Where skill and fun collide in Calgary, I would suggest that it is the hockey capital of Canada. For sure, Western Canada, Torontonians will take issue and say Toronto is, but for sure, Calgary's the hockey capital of Western Canada, and Overtime Hockey Lanes is right there, 28th Street Northeast. Where skill and fun collide, head on down there and tell them Rod sent you. So, from my Twitter, Jeff writes in, Jeff Hoynes, and he says, good day. There will be 200 farmers from Saskatchewan in Tampa Bay for the game tonight. Any chance you are attending? And I had to say, no, I'm 3.5 hours away near Sunrise, Florida, specifically in Boca Raton, Florida. If I'd known, I still probably wouldn't have gone. But this is the first invite that I've had for it. My guess is it's because that's the Mosaic Potash headquarters. I don't know. Their headquarters are there. Is that why you're there? The farmers? Come on down to Sunrise and I'll see you here. And then there's this. Well, and hey, I could tell you a story about having 60 farmers in a strip club in Tampa Bay.
Oh, no.
Story for another time. Troy writes in. Now, hang on. You remember my good friend Derek Myers, the MLA, famed sportscaster, model? His lovely gal Lori was with us that night in the strip club. It's called the Dollhouse, if you must know. And she said, how come all these farmers look the same? All these guys from Saskatchewan look the same. I said, what's that supposed to mean? She goes, well, they all got ball caps and sunglasses on top, plaid shirts and board shorts. I'm like, well, dagnabbit, they do. Troy in Swift Current writes in on the Sober Carpenter text line, 902-518-3033, and he says, hey, Rod, just wondering if you had mentioned the Swift Current Broncos cracking the CHL top 10. Geeky has been on a heater. Signed, forever banging your booth in the Civic Center, Troy. Well, that's another story. So, no, we didn't mention the Broncos being in the top 10, but consider the fact that you did, us mentioning it. And that was in Swift Current for years and years and years. They used to beat like this on my broadcast booth, and finally one night I had enough. And the police ended up being involved over a string of consecutive nights, actually, and I'm not going to get into that story. Mitchell Scruffy Blair says, when I write a book, it'll be the size of the New York City phone book. As my mom said, you cut quite a swath, Rodney. John in Rosetown writes in and says, the Saskatoon Blades are red hot. Top team in the CHL. Go Blades. Maybe they should be sponsored by Frank's Red Hot. Bob writes in from Saskatoon. He says, Bob from Saskatoon. He goes, a question for Darren. How can a member of Canada's Scotties Championship be deemed ineligible? And now Toronto papers are asking the question. Darren would not have I don't think Darren would have the answer for why a member of Jennifer Jones' team would be deemed ineligible. I don't think he would have that. Curling Canada, who sponsors this show, by the way, doesn't want you to know, or at least not yet. I don't feel like it's anything really nefarious. But it's not something I feel like getting into right now. Kirk is in Saskatoon. Holy smokes, what happened in Saskatoon today? I feel like we're the #1 daytime sports talk show on the air, on television in Saskatoon today. Kirk says a couple of things. He says the Oilers need a top 6 winger to play on the second line with Draisaitl. I'm not saying you're wrong. Remember what they did with Evander Kane a couple of years ago, and they got him as a freebie. That seemed to work out okay. But I don't hear a lot of complaining about Ken Holland lately, the job that he's done. Fair? Fair. And Kirk goes on to say the Eric Lindros trade to Philadelphia set up Quebec, Colorado for their Stanley Cup runs. It sure did. And maybe next week, as we get closer to the NHL trade deadline, we can examine some of the best trades. Let's remember, but these are all summer trades. There's a very big difference between summer trades and trade deadline trades, or trades leading up to the deadline. Gretzky was not a trade deadline trade. The Lindros trade was not a trade deadline trade. There is a difference. It's almost like these trades that are being made right now are being made and the GMs have a gun to their head. That's the sense that I get. It's different than in the 80s or 90s in the case, or the summer, the off-season trades. Two different types. 902-518-3033. Sports update. Austin Matthews and the Toronto Maple Leafs carry a 5-game win streak into tonight's road match with the Vegas Golden Knights. Leafs coming off a 6-3 win in Arizona last night. Golden Knights have lost 3 straight at home. Meanwhile, the suddenly struggling Vancouver Canucks look to snap a 3-game losing streak as they visit the Seattle Kraken. Despite the recent losses, Vancouver still leads the NHL with 80 points. Also tonight, Ottawa's home to Dallas, Montreal's in Pittsburgh, and Calgary hosts Boston. And as we heard, 200 farmers will be in Tampa Bay where the Washington Capitals come to town. Saskatchewan farmers, no less. The Toronto Raptors host the Brooklyn Nets in their first game back from the NBA All-Star break. The Raptors, who have lost 3 in a row, sit 12th in the East. They received a pep talk from UFC legend George St. Pierre yesterday. How about that?
How about that?
Sports update brought to you. Let's see if it works. Sports update brought to you by Landmark Cinemas, in theaters now. Anyone But You, the Valentine Encore, starring Alexandra Shipp and Glenn Powell. Don't miss the all-new bonus content as well. Anyone But You in Landmark Cinemas now. And brought to you by Common Crown Brewing. When we talk hockey, it's brought to you by Common Crown Brewing Company, turning your everyday common beer into a unique and exceptional experience. Visit commoncrown.ca. I had occasion the other night it's not out of line if the guy would ask if I was going to be in Tampa Bay tonight, because I was there on the weekend. I was chatting with a longtime member of the Dallas Stars staff, and interestingly enough, I told him that on TSN they said the best trade ever was Iginla for Nieuwendyk. The Stars got the immediate help of Joe Nieuwendyk in that deal, which they went on to win a Stanley Cup in '99, and the Flames got a franchise great in Jerome Iginla. Trade works out for both. And as what that guy told me, and Craig Button could probably corroborate, is they almost got shipped Todd Harvey instead. Because the Flames almost went for Todd Harvey. But in the end, it was Jerome Iginla that went to the Flames. And he goes, can you imagine if we kept Iginla and got Nieuwendyk? But everything happens for a reason. Gary in Penticton, BC writes in, and he says, thank you for spelling my name on air. Gary with 2 R's, the proper way. Gary with 1 R is not. Pointing question, have you ever seen Barry or Larry spelled with 1 R? I rest my case. P.S. Great show. Well, one thing that I've learned, Gary, and you might want to think about it, and this is, countless money spent on advisors and coaches here in South Florida. There's more than one way to do things.
Hot damn. Hot take.
I know, right? What? I just learned this.
Spicy.
There's more than one way to do things. My dad might have benefited from this coaching that I'm getting down here. So how about you spell it however the hell you want? How about that? I hope that's not keeping you up at night at Gary with 2 R's. What else do we have here? Oh, hey. What's up on Football Friday? Are you able to talk to me, Clark? What's up on Football Friday tomorrow? Barker? Jock Wilson. How about that? Have you been reading my diary, Clark? I was wanting to get Jock Wilson on here. He's a good guy. He used to hate me. Now he likes me. I'd like to know what changed. Ryan in Saratoga, New York says, have a great Thursday, Rod Squad. Enjoy whichever sports you watch tonight. Nets at Raptors, as we said. Spring training baseball opens with the Dodgers playing the Pod Squad in Peoria, Arizona. 11 in the NHL. Enjoy it. Be safe. We'll see you back here tomorrow, noon Eastern on Game Plus and Key Radio.
Who has more fun than us?